This is the final word, T20 World Cup Daily, day 15? 16. Day 16
Comes
of the
right
tournament.
before 17.
Comes right up to first. We're in Brisbane. Jeff Lemon and Adam
It
Collins
is so
with
nice
you.
to be back in Brisbane.
Yeah, it's warm. It's pleasant.
It's been cold
balmy.
everywhere we've gone, if I'm honest.
I haven't been warm since I arrived back in this country.
Nor me.
And now I'm
Nor
warm
me.
again. The show is brought to you by CBUS Super.com.au. That mob, making hard work pay off. Australia versus Ireland today. It was the only game. Only one game today. Imagine that, a day with one match. And that's the only one we have to talk about. And, it started off with the Australians needing to pump the Irish for net run rate. Adam, what happened in 30 seconds or less?
Yeah, the sweet net run rate's what they were after. And in the end, they kind of get what they were after, but nowhere near the extent to which we thought they might. They make 179 principally due to a 48 ball, I think it was 63 from Aaron Finch, striking at 143, which provides a bit of respite for him. However, he and maybe two others have done hammies. More on that later. With the ball, they had Ireland at one stage 25 for 5. Game over, you think. Then Lorcan Tucker makes 61 not out, make that 71 not out. And had they not done themselves a mischief with the strike in the fourth last overs, he might have had a chance of doing something special. In the end, they lose by 32 runs, but might have been 42 runs, something like that.
Yep.
But they're all out for 137. You do the math.
Yeah.
You do the math.
42.
42.
Yeah.
So Australia get the 2 points. They get their net run rate still in the red.
Still in the negative, yeah.
Still in the red, and they're still behind England. And if England win tomorrow, that'll be an issue going into the Afghanistan game. But in hindsight, I'm glad they haven't done it all tonight, because that's going to make that Afghanistan game in Adelaide extremely interesting to follow.
Yeah.
Because it might be that Australia, because I think England play their last game after Australia play their last game.
Right.
So they won't know exactly
what
what
the
they're
result's
chasing.
gonna be. But
which,
they
by the
will
way,
know.
does pose an argument about whether all those games should be played simultaneously.
Yeah, simultaneous loving, baby.
Because you could,
Two or
I mean, I'm not
three.
saying anyone would, but one could
Simultaneous, you
do things
and
that
me.
aren't quite good.
Okay.
Well, you see,
Like there might be incentive to.
Well, that's why the Premier League will have all their games starting at the same time
Okay.
on the final day, because
Sure.
you can game situations. Anyway, I don't want to get into that.
Imagine if there was a Premier League, but it was just the state premiers up against each other
Yeah.
in some sort of contest. That would be, I'd watch that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take Alive and Dead. It's not just because obviously a lot of
You
former
can't just have
premiers-
the current 8.
No.
Yeah.
So I'll have Jack
Because then
Lang.
making the 8 is no achievement.
No, I'll have Jack Lang, Joan Kerner, and John Cain Sr. In my dinner party.
Joan Kerner singing "I Love Rock and Roll" on the Late Show.
Still feel like she was stitched up there.
Yeah.
Polka dot dress and all that. Although she did do it herself. She had her treasurer with her playing as well, playing air guitar, which is one of the funnier bits of that.
So, look, the game
Where
today...
are we?
The
We're in
game
Brisbane.
Okay, we're in Brisbane. And this is the thing, right? If England lose to New Zealand tomorrow, then the net run rate thing doesn't matter.
True,
So maybe
true,
it
true,
doesn't matter, provided...
It's going to rain
Australia-
tomorrow, by the way.
It'll rain during the day, and it should be okay for the evening, is my understanding of things.
Okay.
And also it's Brisbane, which means it will absolutely see apostrophe NT it down for about the entire, for a couple of hours, and then it'll stop. That's my understanding of things. Right, but it means that maybe net run rate's important, maybe it's not. And if it is important, then you were pretty nice to the Australians. I think they botched it, and they botched it hard tonight. Number one, okay, it's hard when the other team says we'll bowl first, because ideally you want them
Yeah,
to
you can't do
bat
that.
first
Yeah.
and bowl them out and chase it in 8 overs and all the rest of it. But when the other team says we'll bowl first, fine, you've got to make 200 plus and you've got to bowl them out for sod all. Australia botched it with the bat. 179 wasn't enough. They had a couple of pretty uninspiring performances. They had players who soaked up too much of the strike and couldn't get things going. The Irish bowled okay, but nothing particularly special. And then with the ball, they're 5 for 25, as you pointed out. If Australia keep Ireland to 80 or less, then they go past England in terms of net run rate today.
It would have been
And
useful
they
having
had-
you as our statistician on the radio call.
They had the
You were
opportunity.
speculating like, maybe about 100.
Maybe about 100. Well, yeah.
Don't know.
Look,
Let us know on social media. Wouldn't have a Scooby.
about 100 would still have been good. 104 would have had Australia in the positive, So about 100 would still have been good. 80 or under would have been even better for the Australians. They would have been ahead of England. And
Can it make me feel better?
And then England would have had to beat the teams that they're trying to beat by more than Australia beats the next team that they're trying to beat, and so on and so forth. 5 for 25, and they let Lorcan Tucker get into the game, come and I don't even know if you could call it a drop catch. I'm not sure if he got a hand to it, but he circled around underneath it and didn't take take
Yeah,
one.
when he back with the flight.
And then Lorcan Tucker peeled off an absolutely magnificent innings.
Yeah.
It got better and better to watch as he went on. He put together partnerships where everybody else made bugger all in the partnerships. There was one with Mark Adair, there was one with Big Bat Barry McCarthy. And
Second high
and there
score was
the one
Gareth
before
Delaney
that,
with
Gareth Delaney,
14.
14 out of a partnership of 40-something. To give you a sense of how things were going, Mitchell Starc bowled a double wicket maiden in his first over, and then Lorcan Tucker took him for 7 boundaries. I mean, he just played outstandingly. The way he backed away outside his leg stump to create room, drove through the covers, that incredible threaded drive that went between extra cover and mid-off, no gap there, just pierced the middle.
The little,
he played the flick over his shoulder for 4 off Mitchell Starc as well, who's bowling heat. He put Josh Hazlewood in the second tier of the stand.
Yep.
I mean, 71 not out.
That takes some doing.
From 48 balls, something like that,
Yep.
and 71 of the best. It was an outstanding innings. And like you said, that point with 3 overs to go, they needed 48 off the last 3 overs. You're like, well, it's possible. It's not probable, but he could do it the way he's going. And then Barry McCarthy hits one to deep mid-wicket.
Yeah.
He's out. Tucker can't get back on strike, and eventually there's a run out as he's trying to get back on strike.
Yeah, I was pissed that last ball of what must have been the 17th over.
They took the single.
They took the 2.
Yeah.
They took the 2.
They took the...
So
Well, they
Tucker's
took
on
the 1.
strike. No, this is earlier, over
Oh,
before. Tucker's on strike and takes the 2.
Puts McCarthy
Big Bad
on strike.
Basler, Barry McKenzie, first suck of the sauce bottle, on strike, who hits one out the screws to deep mid-wicket, by the way.
Okay.
Steve Smith, right on it. If it's one or 2 metres either way, it's probably 4 or 6. But nevertheless, I just think that was... And Tucker played splendidly. And I want to reiterate everything you said there, but...
Match awareness.
And then the next over, he lets Josh Little take a single.
Off the last ball.
After
the over.
So
Having faced
consecutive
4 dot
overs.
balls. So that over, that 17th over, goes wicket from the first ball, 4 dots, single to give up the strike.
Yeah,
I
so
mean, it was
in 2 consecutive overs, he missed the chance to start the over on
Yeah.
strike, having, in the previous over, taken Hazlewood and Starc for a bunch
He
of
took
runs.
17 off Stark's previous over.
And Hazlewood the previous over to that. So, and they knew that in overs 18, 19, 20 that Maxwell was going to have to bowl one of them. Now, in the end, Maxwell bowls 1 ball to start the 19th over as our light goes out. Ignore that. But the...
there is a light that never goes out, but it's not this one.
Yeah, double-decker bus. Where am I? Yeah, so it was match awareness in consecutive overs, which is frustrating because, we just got to the point on comms where we're going, well, we're permitted to say, 52 off 21. Like the whole night we're like, Ireland are chasing 180 and then they're 60 for 5 or 70 for 6 and you're like, they're never going to win.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, actually, if you kind of squinted it a bit and kind of ignore the fact that it's 8 down, they might just win if he faces, 20 of the last 24 balls.
Yeah.
In the end, he faces...
None
of them.
Or they might at least punch even more of a hole in Australia's net run rate dreams by getting to within, say, 10 runs.
And just on that, by the way, on the first innings criticism that you levelled before, I would just add that Ireland bowled very cleverly and Balbirnie captained exceptionally well in the field. They actually should have kept Australia about 160. The second half of Australia's innings, Ireland owned that with the exception of the 2 Mark Adair overs, the one that goes for 26 and the one that goes for 17. So he pulls level with Baz and McCarthy for having 59 conceded. That's what he conceded against Scotland, which was the Ireland record, and now Adair's with him today. Now, I know you're root mathsing a little bit by saying if you exclude those 2 overs, but they were the only 2 overs when they weren't dictating terms. Like they bowled really well, and just about match awareness, they bowled their spinners from the Stanley Street end, the other end here, which meant they were hitting to a 90-metre boundary because the pitch was all the way over towards the other side of the ground, the eastern side of the ground. So it's just the way they set it up. I know they bowled some sundries, but you can see they were bowling to a plan. They were trying to hit the tram tracks to the best they could on that side. That's what got them Maxwell.
It worked on occasion.
I think that, and the side's allowed to bowl well, and they did bowl well. So I think that Australia getting 180, I think was probably about fair in the circumstances.
They bowled a lot of wides. They bowled
11, I think, yeah.
Balbirnie bowled Gareth Delaney to Marcus Stoinis, who duly punted him all over the place. I mean, you can't. If you've just watched Stoinis do what he did to Sri Lanka, you don't put.
But he
your
didn't have any other.
But
he really didn't have any other options. He wasn't going to bowl Fionn Hand again because Fionn Hand looked like he was just. I mean, I know what happened the other night was lovely with Stokes, but he looked like he was
sure what to do.
A level below, and he wasn't going to bowl Fionn Hand, which meant he had to get the overs from somewhere. And Delaney bowled nicely to that point, and he did bowl exceptionally well in the power play. So I get why. I mean, you just got to dance with the one that brung you sometimes, and that was Delaney for him, who's been exceptional through the tournament with the ball.
All right.
And then Dockrell, likewise, by the way, concedes 24 from 4 overs of left-arm orthodox. He's barely bowled in the competition. So, it wasn't so much that it would have been great from an Australian perspective chasing net run rate had they got 200. I think 180 is probably fair. And with the ball, you're right, 25 for 5. They should steamroll them, but that's the point when Tucker starts batting well and Delaney batted well too. He was 10 off 3 at one point.
As Joan Kernis sang, "I love Dockerroll," who did really nicely with the ball. I mean, people will look at the scorecard and say, "Oh, Aaron Finch back in form, 60 odd off 40 odd, looking good." He looked awful for the first 40 balls of his innings.
Yeah, he worked into it, yeah.
He hit a 6 early on, really struggled to turn the strike over, struggled to do much more than get the inside or outside portion of the bat and get singles up until he was 40 off 36 balls. And again, that's not the innings you need from an opener coming in. Warner's out early as well, which he's made a habit of in this series, slaps one around the corner, caught it short fine leg. And then it takes Finch all of that time, way up until the halfway point of the innings before he hits a couple of sixes late that I think flatter his eventual score, and then he's got hamstring tightness as well, so whether he'll be fit to play on Friday, who knows.
Well, there's a couple of bits here. One is that anchors, I think about the Mithali Raj logic. She used to always say that her role was to anchor the innings and then catch up on the strike rate later. Didn't always work, and David Milan does it well for England. Weirdly, Aaron Finch at 35 turns 36 just after the final. He's actually changed roles. He's playing the Steve Smith role. He inadvertently, he's become the anchor. He's not getting out. So he got out late today, popping one down to the long on when his hamstring had gone, clearly. By the way, on that, the fact that he's talking about his scan tomorrow on radio, just then we were saying, if you're talking about going to your scan tomorrow and not giving a convincing answer about playing on Friday against Afghanistan, I would suggest he's not playing against Afghanistan. But anyway, this Steve Smith question, it might be resolved anyway through injury, but in a way they don't need to find room for him because Finch is already anchoring. And if you anchor at 143 as he did today, and he did catch up at the end, I think that's probably fine.
Yeah,
but I think that's the real problem in the one-day team.
That's a high-risk game to be playing. To
but you need someone doing that role.
Later.
But you need someone playing that anchor role. Like every side's got someone. Every side's got someone who does it, who catches up later. So Kohli was in the best innings we've ever seen in T20 cricket. He was 18 off 23 last week. So players do catch up. Who start modestly and turn the strike over, which he didn't do well today, as you say, but he did enough. And that's 2 consecutive innings where he's faced a lot of balls not gotten out. So it's not, and he's made more than 500.
Which can be a match-losing thing to do in a T20.
Yeah, but it wasn't today because he struck at 143. So it wasn't match-losing. So you can sort of.
But it's a high risk. It's a high risk kind of game.
He's your uncle type thing. You're kind of saying, well, it could have been match-losing, but I'm saying, well, but it wasn't. So the fact is that he didn't get out for 40 off 36. He did remain in. So, and in the the point I'm making though is in the absence of another anchor, in the absence of Stephen Smith, in other words. Now, Smith might come in for Tim David regardless, because if Tim David's done his hammy, now Tim David didn't come back on at all, didn't field at all, rather. And Marcus Stoinis, we have no idea what's going on with him.
Went off, bowled one over, went off. He's got that side strain history. He's had a side strain for about 5 years.
But no one really knows because he didn't pop his head up after going under the dugout. So it might be that Smith comes in or Green comes in. My real question is...
Maybe 3 Smiths come in.
Well, my real sort of poser for you or for anyone, really, if they need to make a change to the squad, it probably needs to be a Tim David-sized replacement. Who in Australia bats at 6 or 7 and does that. I mean, I know Inglis has done it more and more recently, maybe Philippi. I mean, possibly but Travis Head as a specky because Head has done it years ago, albeit in the Big Bash batting at 5. I mean, there are ways of getting around this problem, but there's no perfect solution. And also, Travis Head hasn't got a great record against spin, and they're playing Afghanistan next, and they're playing probably India in a semi-final. If they get through.
In which case, it probably is Green, because if you just want the sort of hit it out of the ground type, then he's got the possibility to do that more. Did he
bat at 6 or 7 at all in his stint in the T20 side though?
No, he opened.
It's kind of a tough thing to ask a guy to do. The thing is, batting 6 and 7 is harder than opening, right?
Sure.
It's a specialist position. Get Dan Christian up here. Get him.
Get him out of the coaching squad of the Netherlands.
Are you available?
Available to play. Right. So. All of that, I mean, the start that they have with the ball, ridiculous. The double wicket maiden comes after the previous 3 wickets, but it also comes after Ireland come out and blow it away off the top. So Balbirnie puts Hazelwood over fine leg for 6. Sterling hits a massive 6 off Cummins and a 4. This is verging into Hall of Fame territory here, but they're 17 off 9 balls, Ireland, for no wickets. They then lose 5 wickets in 13 balls for 8 runs.
Going well. I think it was 5 for 7 the collapse, wasn't it? So, okay, that's not great. I mean, and even the way that Harry Tector's going to be a star. He kind of already is a star. Prodigy, the way he's come through in short-form cricket in the last few years, now translating to 50-over cricket, doing it against big teams, made a big score against India earlier this year. That was a limp dismissal to Maxwell. He's so badly out of form. I wonder whether they make a change for the final game with him. The other Maxwell wicket, which... Oh, it was Sterling.
That was Sterling.
Match-up stuff. Yeah. Sterling, before tonight, had faced 26 deliveries from Glenn Maxwell in all T20 cricket for 24 runs. So fair fucks to Finch to go, right, match up here, this works, let's give it a go. That's why I was a bit surprised that Stark didn't take the new ball, because in the last 3 years, Sterling's record against left-arm seam is dreadful. He averages 18 against it. So I thought that's why Stark would get that first chance at Sterling. Yep. Either way, it worked out in the end. So another reason why I think Finch... is going okay. He pulled the right reins when he was out there before he got injured. His bowling changes all seem to correspond with the wicket being taken.
Final word, Hall of Fame. I think it's that time for CBUS Super.
Has to be.
That's a superannuation fund. That means they look after your money in retirement. You send the money when you're not retired, and then they invest it for you, and then they give you more money back at the end. Fantastic situation that works out really well. They've got a 38-year track record of doing that very well indeed.
Yeah, they do. Superannuation, one of the finest pieces of public policy ever to be implemented in this country. National savings, don't know what our national savings are now. Yep. It's in the trillions.
Right up there with snowy hydro, public sanitation. What else?
Well, Super's good. Yeah. Super's real good.
Medicare.
And 74 billion funds under management with CBUS. With I can't remember how many members have got anymore. A lot of them.
850,000.
850,000 of them that trust their savings with a mob who have had an 8.88% average return, 2 decimal points, being cricket. Average return across the 38 years they've been in existence. That's a beautiful set of numbers, and as we say on this part of the show, a lot of this comes down to having the wherewithal to getting your super sorted out. If you don't get your super sorted out, you don't get to enjoy those kind of benefits. You've got to be across it. So think about it, do it. cbussuper.com.au. Let them help you.
Let them help you. And remember, the past performance is
not a reliable indicator of future performance.
Hall of Fame today. Look, a few standout moments for me. Like I said, Mitchell Stark, double wicket maiden to start, ends up with 2 for 43 off his 4 overs after the young man who batted so well took those 7 boundaries off him.
I'll have a word for Bazza McKenzie here. Barry McCarthy, who picked up a wicket with his first ball, and his first ball with his second over as well. Ended up with 3 for not many, and the diving stop at straight hit, wasn't it?
Yeah. Stoinis hits straight. He hits Markader straight down the ground.
It was always
going for 6. It was always going for 6. McKenzie, the mid-air, the grab, the floating backwards, the realising he can't throw it to anyone, the just like fadeaway jump shot, the ball back into the ground to keep it to 2 runs instead of 6.
Have you ever watched the Barry McKenzie films?
I feel they wouldn't stand the test of time.
They do not stand well, I mean, they're very racist.
Yeah.
Let's call it for what it is.
That's what I was getting at.
Yeah, the whole way through. I watched one on a flight recently, and it's very racist. Anyway, where are we? Hall of Fame. Mitchell Marsh, who hit some bombs, 2 of them, maybe 3 of them tonight. He hit 102 metres 6, but one that he went straight with.
2 and 2, I think. 2 4s,
2 and 2, right. The fall down the ground, I think it was Marsh, smashed into the advertising boards and put it on the blink, so it was literally blinking, and they had to wait for 2 minutes to get the game back on. So credit to him for that. Yeah, 102 metres 6 to get the party started for him tonight. So it feels like he's just building nicely.
The Marcus Stoinis straight drive that I think went to the fence faster than any 4 I've ever seen. That was the hardest hit for. That was off Mark Kader as well, actually.
I missed an obvious one. Yeah. Maxie, captain of Australia, giddy up. Maxie calling the shots tonight. So Finch goes off, and they've got Matthew Wade, who was the substitute captain last summer. They've got Stephen Smith, who led them to a World Cup in this format of the game in 2016. They've got David Warner, who was leading his T20 side before you-know-what, and may well be leading the Sydney Thunder this year, based on the report today about him being on parole from his ban. See that?
No.
Good yarn. And there was one other. Mitch Marsh is the captain of Western Australia and the Scorchers. And what do you know? GM Maxwell.
He's captain of the Stars.
Yeah.
Why not?
I couldn't agree more. But there, Maxie calling the shots. The camera was on him for the DRS countdown clock and moving a few fielders. I mean, who knows? If Finch is out, might it be that we're living in a Maxie Wonderland for the next week? It could be Glenn Maxwell's Australian side charging through to the finals of a World Cup. That's something to believe in.
I've got one more for you, and this is also Maxwell related. When it's Stoinis bowling, I can't remember who was batting, big hit, goes straight up in the air. There are a couple of players converging from different parts of the ground. Maxwell's near the edge of the circle. Steve Smith's running in.
Oh,
from,
yeah. Gillespie, Steve Worcester.
From short third. Now, but not Gillespie, Steve Worcester, because Steve Smith can see Glenn Maxwell in front of him. Right? He knows that Glenn Maxwell's in front of him going for a catch. But Steve Smith is so frustrated at being on the sidelines for so long that he just wants to be involved. And he just tears in there, almost creates the collision, just bails out at the last minute, but seems to be sort of annoyed afterwards, like that should have been my catch, when he was obviously nowhere near it.
Well,
he just doesn't have a filter when it comes to cricket stuff. He can't switch off.
Got two words that come to mind when thinking about those two. Train smarter.
Train smarter. That probably includes not crashing into your teammates when they're trying to take a catch. All right, that's enough from us. This has been the Final Word Daily, day 16 of the T20 World Cup.
Big one tomorrow, England, New Zealand.
Yep.
Here at the Jabba. That's the second game. The first one's Afghanistan and
one of the other teams.
Sri Lanka. It all molds. It all blends in after a while. Then we're off to Adelaide at 6 o'clock the following day. Can't stop, won't stop.
All right, final word. Jeff Fleming, Adam Collins. Thanks to CBUS. We'll see you later.
Night.